I don't understand where Seer. Watch, Seer and I are fine. People think that I was discussing Seer a long time ago when I was talking about a guy who uses women. Seer doesn't use women. Seer's I don't think he uses women. I really don't. Seer's a very sensitive guy in the sense that he's very passive, he's very calm, he's very rational in a lot of situations. So for him to be a user, I just don't see that happening. Are you and Charlotte going to be just dating or engaged still? We're still engaged. She still wears the ring. She apparently never took it off. Which only shows you exactly what I mean. The woman loves me. She loves me. And I can't deny that. She got that tattoo on her neck without even telling me. I was actually kind of upset when she got it, but I didn't show it because I didn't want to hurt her feelings. But when she showed it to me, I was a little upset, but I still said, you know what, thank you. That was a brilliantly loving thing to do. And when she said she was pregnant the first time, I cried. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to be a father and so forth. And then, there's that voicemail where I said, yay, I didn't get her pregnant or she lied or whatever. And it's like the reason I was rejoicing is because I thought I was dealing with a person who was, obviously she is a pathological liar, but somebody who was very abusive. And I felt like, and you guys might say, a pathological liar is abusive, but I felt like, she was trying to take advantage of me and she didn't have my best interest at heart. And that's why I was glad, because I felt like I was ridding myself of somebody who was very, very selfish. But I just don't feel like that's the case anymore. And I've thought this all through, and it's like, you know what, I want to be loved, and I know that she can love me in the best way possible. The thing is what we're going to do when our issues get very intense, because we're likely going to get in fights again. The key is that I remain calm, and that I handle it like a mature adult and don't get upset like I did before, because I used to get really upset, and that was my mistake. So the worst that ever happened was she would put her hands on me, like she would prevent me from moving whatsoever. And even then I would refuse to get physical back with her. But nevertheless, when she pushed, like when she was trying to push her way into the room, I pushed her away from the door. And when I pushed her away from the door, I felt like I went too far. And things were getting so ugly with that. And I haven't really talked about this, but I feel like it's okay for me to talk about this just because of the fact that it helps me heal from it, and it helps me learn not to do it in the future. So I pushed her away from the door, and I closed the door, as most anyone would. If somebody's trying to force their way in your room, you push them away from the door, and then you close the door. She didn't fall, she's fine. But the point is that it got to the point where I actually, I pushed back, and that's something that scared me. And that's why in the future I need to be a mature adult, and if I'm pushed, I can be pushed all day and night, and I won't push back, And as far as her threatening to kill herself and all that stuff, she does that when she feels like she's losing me, and she has this in her mind that she's going to get me back by threatening to kill herself or by being dramatic or whatever. And so we need to go into the counselor's office and get that through her head that I'm going to be with her if she remains calm and if she remains loving. I'm not going to be able to be with her if she starts threatening her own life or starts threatening that she's going to pen her suicide on me or something like that. I don't even know what she was doing there. It's just when people are heartbroken and when they're desperate, they do crazy things. Me in my situation, making phone calls, that's nothing compared to what I went through with Shiloh. And Shiloh, is obviously not as old as me. And with that, she still has a lot of growing to do in that sense. And I'm trying to understand. It's like, I think of how I would be at that age, and it's like, even now, I'm not a very mature adult in the sense that I don't handle things how a lot of people should. But nevertheless, it's like you have to be understanding, you have to deal with people, you have to work with people if you want to have a long-lasting, successful relationship. So in that, I'm going to try to do everything I can to make sure that happens, and that I am a responsible adult, and that I do handle things more maturely in the future, and that I refuse to ever push anyone back when they're pushing me. That was just too far, and I'm so upset with myself about that. Pushing. It's just so unacceptable. And I made that mistake a long time ago, so whatever. Anyway, so the good thing is that Shiloh is the only person who's ever gotten physical with me, and the only person that I've pushed back, or I've ever touched in that way, like aggressively. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that kind of scares me about Shiloh, is that she's not afraid to get physical with me, and that I feel like I need to defend myself, but it's like I'm defending myself against Shiloh. I mean, I'm bigger than her, you know? So, I mean, I feel like a piece of crap having to talk about this, and I don't feel good about it. But if I'm going to be fake to you guys, what's the point in any of you watching me? What's the point in any of you caring about anything I have to say if I'm going to be fake? So this is who I am. I have made mistakes. And if you don't like me for that, then at least you don't like me for what I am and not what I'm not. Someone says their boyfriend has cheated on them 3 times. Why are you still with them? If they cheat on you, they show they don't. Somebody who cheats is seriously not worth being with if you have not cheated yourself. I've made this mistake with dating cheaters in the past, and it was a mistake because I realized that those people do not really love. They don't. They don't love on the level that I do, because they don't know what it's like to dedicate themselves completely. Now, I have made mistakes in my mind where I fantasize about other people, you know, but I do what I can to make it work in my mind. You know, I'm not perfect. Accidents happen as far as what I think about. But I try to be loyal. I try to be dedicated, and I would never ever cheat in person because it's too easy to resist someone, to deny someone. I had someone try to kiss me. They were 15 and I was 18. And it was the sister of someone I was with. They tried to kiss me, and I turned my head so they wouldn't kiss me. Because even though, you know, I wasn't technically with their sister at the time, it's like I cannot be in a relationship with somebody who I was just very prior in a relationship with, because there's certain things that you cannot do that are just morally corrupt if you want to respect yourself when you wake up every morning. And let alone 15 and 18, that's an age gap that I'm not willing to do, because while it's not necessarily illegal, it just felt wrong to me. And you might jump to ask, well, why were you with Shiloh when she was 17? Because it was in a state where it was legal. And on top of that, I thought that she was 22, and by the time I found out that she was her age, I had already become friends with her, and we already kind of created a support thing with each other, where we were there for each other if we needed anything. So it's like, could I just abandon my friend because she was 4 or 5 months behind 18? No. So I just avoided being in any location that she was, where things were illegal. And again, that's another thing that I'm very honest with you guys about, that I know I'm going to be judged for. But am I afraid to admit it? No, because it's something that I need to own up to in order to look in the mirror and say, you know what, you're an honest human being. You know, despite what everybody says, you're an honest human being when the sun goes down. You're an honest human being when the sun comes up. Faults or not, at least I'm honest. So that's that. It's taboo, but it happened. Nothing illegal, but taboo nonetheless. How long were you in the military for? I was in for 3 years and 6 months. I got out as a conscious objector. I was on the relieved duty squad for, I think, 8 months, picking up cigarette butts, painting walls, and so forth. I painted a bunch of murals for the Delta Flight. It was pretty cool. Delta Flight had a pretty cool mural that I painted. And then I did a bunch of other squadron stuff. And then I got out honorably. And they discharged me honorably because they realized I was a legit conscious objector, and that I was suffering from chronic depression due to being in the military and having to carry a weapon and so forth. So, or not chronic depression, maybe it was chronic depression, I don't know. How long have you played Skyrim? I can't play Skyrim these days because I feel like I'm not accomplishing anything. You know, at least with this live feed, I feel like I'm connecting with my audience, which is just lovely to do. But playing Skyrim alone, I mean, I used to be able to play it when Shiloh would watch me, because I felt like I was, having some kind of bonding experience, but now I have no one. So it's like, why play games? Someone says, are you vegan or vegetarian? I'm a vegetarian. Vegetarian. It's where, vegetarian. It's where, when there are vegan alternatives, I take them, But if there's no vegan alternative, then I eat vegetarian food. So whatever. You like chocolate? Yeah, it's good. If you could move anywhere, I like where I am. I'm fine. I don't need to move anywhere. I like being, not in Forks, but It's nice to think that the environment is similar to that of Twilight. If you don't want people to harass your ex-wife, then why don't you keep your business between you and your ex-wife? Because I'm being betrayed. It's kind of like you get lied to, stolen from, and cheated out of your money every single month. And what are you supposed to do? Just suffer silently? No. You stand up for what you believe in. You say, hey, I'm being victimized here. This person broke agreements that we had made many times in the past about what their contributions were and what their compensation was. So I stand up for what I believe in. And if you don't want to be held accountable for wronging me, don't know me, okay? Because if you're going to betray me, I'm going to talk about it. I may not say your names. It may slip at some point, but I may not say your name intentionally. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about people and what to avoid in their relationships. Because imagine this. Imagine I come across a channel called So-and-So Speaks before I was ever married to her. And I see what this guy's going through with prenuptial agreements and her crying and lying just to, or manipulating into getting married. So you don't have this agreement that says, hey, what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. And when it's over, at least have some kind of agreement. Maybe it's not a prenuptial agreement, but have some kind of agreement that says, when it's all over, this is how it's going to be, if it's ever over. And some people say, it's not true love. But you have to plan for the future. All these guys who are divorced, they say, oh, I thought it was true love, and then they're paying alimony. Well, I bet you wish they wish that they signed a prenup, where the woman and the man both admit they're not in it for each other's financial stuff. You can preach about true love day and night, but you don't look at the divorce victims who are paying for the next 5 years of their life. So anyway, if I came across someone's channel where they said, hey, watch out. You might get screwed over. She might cry. She might end up stealing a contract you guys signed. She might go back on telling you that she doesn't want your stuff. She doesn't want your money. She might go back on that. So get a prenup regardless. Make her prove that she's not interested in your stuff. That's the. If she doesn't have any interest in your stuff, she's not going to go, oh, but you don't love me. She's going to go, you know what? You better trust me in the future. Sign. That's the proof. Prove it. If you can prove it, then prove it. Because people will talk about true love, how you're not really in a committed relationship. Prove we're in a committed relationship. Sign. If you want a lasting relationship, a prenup is confidence. It's reassurance that you're with a person who's not interested in anything else. There's no doubts when you sign that. Okay? So if I saw a Speaks channel prior to being married, I would have saved my own ass. But I didn't. So while I'm talking about someone who betrayed me, imagine all the people I've saved from horrible situations just like this. Imagine all the people I've saved from nasty relationships, from rebound situations by talking about this. Because had I seen these things, I would have known to watch out for them. But nobody talked to me. I never saw any Speaks channel warning me of these things. So that's why I talk about these things. That, and it's great therapy. It's a great way to deal. Why do you feel like you need to defend yourself so much about your personal life and integrity? Haters going to hate anyways. Well, because some people are listening. Not all haters are completely stupid. Some people are paying attention, and some people are willing to change their mind. And if I can have someone who sees me for what I am and goes, you know what? He's actually a decent guy, and I'm sorry for what I said about him in the past, which people come to my site every other day saying, Greg, I'm sorry that I judged you, that I looked at you and I thought you were a liar because I really didn't know you, and now I feel like I really do. I feel like I connect with you when I see your videos. I see a genuine person on the other side of that camera, and I am sorry for attacking you repeatedly. That was my fault. I acted ignorantly, and now I'm sorry. And that's why I make these videos, because if I didn't make these videos, haters would have no reason to stop hating me. They would have no reason to change their minds, and they would go on living in that ignorance, convinced by all these slanderous videos. And I say slanderous because they bring up points that aren't even remotely accurate to reality. They try to twist every single word. Well, he said he was going to the shop today, so that means that he wasn't donating to a nonprofit organization, which means he's a horrible human being because he wasn't. It's like you use examples that are such a stretch for the sake of making me look bad. It's like, if that's the only media outlet, if that's the only exposure haters have to knowing who I am, then how can I blame them for hating me? if they have no opportunity to change their mind, considering that the only information out there is negative information. People say ignore the haters. You know what? Their haters stack up and stack up and stack up and stack up. You know? Maybe it's more so don't fight the haters. Because fighting the haters is like fighting fire with fire, which apparently does actually work. But the point is, it can't actually work. But the point is that being angry isn't going to solve anything necessarily. So that is something that I need to do. I need to stop being so angry at haters. However, reasoning with them is not something that I should avoid, because they are human beings capable of reason. What should you do if your boyfriend kind of forces you to swallow during sex? Oh god, questions I wish I never read. Ew. Ew. He makes you swallow? Ugh. Here's the thing with swallowing. You're making the little babies, potential babies, you're burning them up in stomach acid. Humans aren't food. Okay? Maybe, you get residue off each other's genitals from oral or something, but to actually swallow a large amount of it, I would never ever make anyone do that. That's terrible. I'm sorry. I would say fuck you, man. Someone tries to make me swallow. Gross. Why would I be swallowing? Oh yeah, I haven't come out with being gay yet. I'm just kidding.